So, welcome back to our succeeding class on marginal costing and absorption costing. In previous class and lecture series, we've been able to look at a comprehensive discussion on the concept of marginal and absorption costing. At the same time, we've been able to look at the distinction or difference between marginal costing and absorption costing. Today, we'll be continuing in our class on what are the merits or the advantages of the application of marginal costing. Number one, marginal costing is constant in nature. Don't forget that the variable cost per unit plays a great role in the application of the marginal costing principle. So, and don't forget that the variable cost per unit is expected to be the same, though it changes, the total variable cost changes with the level of activity. So, due to the constancy in the variable cost per unit, we assume that marginal costing is constant in nature. This is one of the merit and advantage of the marginal costing approach. Another merit of marginal costing approach is that it is used to facilitate cost control. With the use of marginal costing approach, the financial manager, the investment center manager, the chief financial officer, the cost center department will be able to facilitate their cost control ability. In other words, it gives the management, the firm, the ability to be able to control their cost effectively, because it preempts, it allows the managers or the management to be aware of the amount of cost that is directly attributable, that is directly consequential to any decision they want to make. So, in this wise, they will not be looking at fixed costs that are not proportional to it, or any other cost that is not proportional to the additional unit or additional decision being made. So, it allows and provide for effective cost control. Another thing is applying a marginal costing approach. It allows for simplicity in overhead treatment. That is, overhead treatment as simple and straight to the point. And what do I mean by this? Under the marginal costing approach, you only take the fixed overhead or the fixed cost, the whole amount for that period, charge it under the expenses section. In other words, under the profit or loss section, and then you have been able to treat your overhead cost, because it's actually treated as period cost under marginal costing. Unlike under absorption costing, where in order to be able to treat your overhead cost, you must be able to first, number one, you get your OAR, overhead absorption rate. Multiply the OAR by the current level of activity to get the actual fixed overhead for the period. After which, you charge this in when computing the cost of sales or the cost of goods produced. So, using the marginal costing approach, you need not pass through all this stress. So, you only take the whole sum amount or the lump sum amount of the overhead and charge it as a period cost. Then, so that's why I will say one of the merits of marginal costing is that it is simple to treat overhead. And lastly, it aids profit planning. When there's a special order, we'll be looking at this under practical applications of marginal costing. When there's a special order, for example, of product Z, which we know that the incremental cost to producing 1 unit of product Z is 10 naira. Then, if there's a special order to the tune of 10,000 units, we know that to be able to recoup our cost and to make profit, we must not charge anything below 100,000 naira. And how do I get that? The 10 naira marginal cost, the additional cost per unit multiplied by the 10,000 unit special order or quoted order. So, through the application and the effective implementation of marginal costing, profit planning is abetted, is aided, is facilitated, is effectively controlled and planned. Lastly, we're looking at the limitations of marginal costing. In looking at the limitations or disadvantages of marginal costing, number one limitation is difficulty in analysis. Difficulty in analysis. Considerable difficulty is always experienced in analyzing overheads into their fixed and variable components. So, don't forget, unlike when treating the assumption of cost volume profit analysis, we say that fixed and variable component must be separatable, must be differentiatable. So also the same limitation applies in marginal costing, because marginal cost only takes into cognizance the variable component. So there is need to be able to differentiate between fixed and variable components, which is not realistic in all cases. So there is difficulty in analysis. For the benefit of those that missed the previous classes or previous lecture series, we said for cost analysis or cost differentiation, there are two general or popular methods that can be used to separate fixed and variable components, and these are the high-low method or the regression method. Number two limitations of marginal costing is inappropriate basis for pricing. In marginal costing, we say that selling price cannot reasonably be fixed on the basis of contribution alone. So, don't forget I said that in marginal costing, in pricing the additional unit or the additional quotation or the special order, we only take into cognizance only the variable cost. But the question lies in that, is the fixed cost not used at all? Is it that the plant and machinery in the firm? Is it that other fixed cost element also? Is it that they did not contribute one way or the other to the production of that additional unit? But since they cannot be directly traceable, don't forget the definition of variable cost. They cannot be directly traceable or very proportionately with the level of activity, we assume they are fixed. So, marginal costing does not take this into cognizance while providing its basis for pricing those additional units. So, we say this is a major setback or limitation. Therefore, marginal costing produces an inappropriate basis for pricing. Lastly, marginal costing is difficult in application. How is it difficult? Don't forget we said that for marginal costing to be applicable, fixed and variable components must be separatable. Howbeit, this is not realistic in companies that involve in large volumes of production. For differentiation or cost differentiation into fixed and variable components to be possible is going to take quite a number of time and effort, therefore making it difficult to be applied in real terms. So, these are the merits and limitations of marginal costing which have been considered in this lecture series. Or in subsequent class, we'll be looking at the principle of relevant cost and relevant revenue, and different terminologies under the relevant costing approach. After which, lastly, we'll be rounding up this lecture episode on how do we practically apply the marginal costing approach. Thank you for coming to this extent in this class. My students over there, God bless you.